Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. All right, guys, today I am going to be giving you a list here of the 5 biggest steals in fantasy this season. Now, this is a very important list because I'm looking at these players and I'm going through the consensus ADP for these guys, and they are way too low. So right now, they're a huge steal. You can get them at a great value. So I want to make sure that you grab these guys because even by the time the season starts, I don't think these guys' ADP are going to go up all that much. People are kind of sleeping on them. So, we got to make sure we grab these guys and get them at the awesome value that we've got right now. So, I'm going to start right here with the first player on my list, Justin Herbert. Now, this is a guy, last year, 699 pass attempts, which was second in the NFL. 4,739 passing yards, second in the NFL. Okay, but yet finished as the quarterback 11. This is obviously a massive fluke. The biggest reason why Justin Herbert didn't finish higher as far as overall fantasy points was because he wasn't rushing the ball in the red zone at all. He had very few red zone carries, and this is very much because of the fact that they were being careful with him. He had the rib fracture early in the season, and so he kind of turned into more of a drop-back, pocket passer type of quarterback that didn't scramble all that much. But this is a guy who is an elite athletic specimen. He's got the size and the speed to be a great rushing quarterback, and we saw it in his first 2 seasons. His first 2 seasons in the NFL, he had a combined 8 rushing touchdowns. So, he's not a guy that's just going to give you no rushing touchdown upside. This dude will return to form this year as far as his overall carry count, as far as his carry count within the red zone, and he will score a minimum of 3 rushing touchdowns this season. I can promise you guys. So that's at the absolute minimum. Look for him to have a ceiling of 6 or so rushing touchdowns. Somewhere in between 3 and 6 rushing touchdowns is about right for Justin Herbert. So, he's going to have, at least some rushing upside this season combined with his awesome passing upside. And when you look at him last year, 4,739 passing yards. This was with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams being out for a significant amount of time. So for him to be second in the league behind only Patrick Mahomes in passing yards while having his 2 main receivers out for a significant chunk of the season, just imagine the passing total upside for this guy if these guys actually stay healthy. And now we've also added Quentin Johnston. So I think it's reasonable to expect that if all the receivers in this offense stay healthy, there is no way that this dude will not pass for 5,000 yards. And that's a crazy thing to say, to go into a season and say, this quarterback is certainly going to pass for 5,000 yards. That's almost a ridiculous thing to say because it's so incredibly hard to pass for 5,000 yards. But if he passed for 4,739 yards with his weapons being hurt for the majority of last season, just imagine if these guys can stay healthy, and with the addition of Quentin Johnston, this guy is going to lead the league in passing yards this year, guys. I'm telling you. And the rushing upside is going to return to form because he's actually going to be 100%. So look for this dude to explode. He's being drafted as the quarterback 7, but he's going to be a massive steal. Make sure to grab him. Next player on my list is going to be Deandre Swift. Now, this is a guy who last year, 5.5 yards per carry, 6.3 yards per touch, 8.1% breakaway run rate. So 8.1% of the time he was running the ball for 15 yards or more. This is absolutely just awesome. And, you look at his other stats, 4.58 yards created per touch, second in the NFL. So 4.5 yards created per touch means how many yards he's creating after first contact. He was second in the league in NFL in this statistic last year, 4.58 yards created after first contact. This is a mind-blowing statistic, and he was still top 10 in the league in overall targets despite missing some games. So here's the way I look at things, okay? The Eagles have an incredible offensive line, probably the best offensive line in the NFL. So there's probably people that are worried about, hey, Jalen Hurts is going to siphon some of his rushing touchdowns. Rashad Penny is going to siphon some of his rushing touchdowns. Both of these things are true, but this is going to be such a hyper-efficient offense and such a hyper-efficient running game that even with those things being the case, DeAndre Swift is still going to have plenty of scoring opportunities. He's going to be finding the end zone often. Look for this dude to have somewhere between 8 to 10 rushing touchdowns this season, add a few passing touchdowns. The possibility of him having 12 overall touchdowns in this offense is certainly there. And, we've seen it in past years with running backs that, even if they have to split a little bit of a workload, if they're efficient enough, they can still produce running back 1 numbers. Guys like Aaron Jones in past seasons when Jamal Williams and A.J. Dillon were cutting into their opportunity share, he was still so hyper efficient and so, touchdown scoring heavy that he was still able to produce running back 1 numbers, even though splitting a backfield. So you can split a backfield and still produce running back 1 numbers. I feel like this is certainly what the situation is going to be like in Philly. Yes, Jalen Hurts will take some of his rushing touchdowns. Yes, Rashad Penny will take some of his rushing touchdowns, but the offense is going to be so good, and it's such an electric running behind such a good offensive line that even in a split backfield, he can produce monster fantasy numbers and he's going as like the running back 25. So this guy's a massive steal. Make sure to get him on your fantasy team. Next player on my list is going to be Jerry Jeudy. Now, last year, Jerry Jeudy missed 2 games, and what was a worse offense than we possibly could have imagined them being, still had 972 receiving yards. So despite that the offense was the polar opposite of what we thought it was going to be, still had close to 1,000 receiving yards. He was getting targeted downfield, 9.7 yards per target, which was 9th in the NFL, and 2.29 yards per route run. So his yards per route run efficiency was very good as well. Look for this offense to bounce back massively. They made a great coaching change, acquiring Sean Payton. So going into this season, this offense should be, easily the biggest bounce back offense in the entire NFL as far as their performance last year and what they're going to do this year. This year, I don't think they're going to disappoint. I think they're going to bounce back in a massive way. Russell Wilson actually has a good coach to back him up now. The coaching was an absolute mess last season. Look for all the receivers in this offense to bounce back. Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. They're both going to bounce back in a massive way, especially considering the fact that they're probably not going to try to be a run-first attack like they were last year, because they're coming into the season with a running back that is coming back from a torn ACL and PCL and MCL. I mean, the dude absolutely destroyed his knee. So they're probably not going to feature Javonte Williams as a massive workload hog this season. So look for this offense to run through the passing game. This is very good for Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton. And we know that when both these guys play together, Jerry Jeudy typically has the better fantasy production. So I love this guy on the season. Jerry Judy's going to bounce back in a massive way. Make sure to get this guy. He's a massive steal. Next player on my list is going to be Drake London. Now, the next receivers on the depth chart of this offense are Mac Hollins and Scotty Miller. This dude has no target share competition outside of Kyle Pitts, okay? And last year in his rookie season, he saw a 29.4% team target share. So as a rookie, this guy was top 5 in the NFL in overall team target share. This is a very good sign. 2.4 yards per route run, top 11 in the NFL, and had 866 receiving yards. Very good rookie season, especially considering the fact that the passing game really wasn't working for these guys last year. So, if the passing game can be at all efficient this season, look for those numbers to be significantly higher than they were last year. And look, this guy was a first-round draft pick for a reason. 6'4", runs a 4.5. He's got the size and speed combination. This dude has the athletic intangibles to be a dominant wide receiver 1 in fantasy. It's just a matter of, do we trust Desmond Ridder? Now, obviously, we don't know a whole lot about Desmond Ridder yet, but what I can tell you is this. The overall efficiency of this offense this year will be better than it was last season because, look, we've got a solid offensive line, and the addition of Bijan Robinson is going to help the overall efficiency of this offense so much. It's obviously going to be a run-first team, but all that means is that when they do decide to pass the ball, there's going to be better opportunities to get open for guys like Kyle Pitts and Drake London because teams are stacking the box to stop Bijan Robinson. So it's going to make it easier for the passing game to be efficient, even if they're not a pass-first team. So that, and considering the fact that, this is going to increase Drake London's potential to score because, an efficient offense equals touchdown upside. So if this offense could be significantly more efficient as a whole this year, Drake London can have significantly higher touchdown upside. And I think this is certainly going to be the case. This dude has the ability to score a pretty good amount of touchdowns this year. He could very well see a 30+% team target share, which almost always inevitably produces awesome wide receiver 1 production. So look for this dude to be a wide receiver 1 this season. He's going as like the 21st wide receiver off the board, somewhere around there. Make sure to grab this guy. He's a massive steal. Next and final player on my list is going to be DeSean Watson. Now, this is a guy who people are just forgetting about him because he hasn't played in a while. And, maybe, hey, they don't trust him because he hasn't played in a while. It's one of those two things. But you look back on his years in Houston, this guy was a top 5 quarterback in fantasy points per game in all 3 of his healthy full seasons in Houston. He was the quarterback 5, the quarterback 2, and the quarterback 5 in his 3 full healthy seasons in Houston. That was being on a terrible offense. His only weapon was DeAndre Hopkins. The offense was absolutely terrible, but he single-handedly made the offense good. So if you give this guy weapons, the sky is the limit. He has the upside to be the quarterback 1. And nobody's going to agree with this, but it's only because of recency bias. We haven't seen him play in a while, so no one's going to say that because, hey, we haven't seen DeSean Watson play, and guys like Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes are the only people who have a chance to be the quarterback 1. That's totally untrue. Okay, DeSean Watson has the upside to be the quarterback 1 in all of fantasy. And, you combine his talent with now being in by far a better offensive system, and I think this is very much a possibility. We've got a legit wide receiver 1 in Amari Cooper. They added Elijah Moore. We've got a slept-on wide receiver in Donovan Peoples-Jones, an awesome pass-catching tight end in David Njoku, an incredible offensive line, the best pure runner in the NFL in Nick Chubb. Look, the sky's the limit for DeSean Watson in this offense. We know that he's a dual threat. He has one of the strongest arms in the league, so the passing upside is there. We know that this dude can run the ball, and considering the fact that all defensive players are going to be looking out for stopping Nick Chubb because that's the ultimate game plan when playing against the Browns, this is going to open up bigger running lanes for DeSean Watson to run through and thus increase his rushing efficiency. So I love DeSean Watson this season. He's one of the biggest steals in the draft, probably the biggest steal in the draft, honestly. So make sure to grab this guy. All right, guys, appreciate you tuning in. Catch you later.